On the day I discovered I was pregnant, my benefactor's first love returned to the country. I voluntarily went to the hospital to schedule an abortion. Just as I was about to put the pill in my mouth, a child's voice suddenly echoed in my mind. Mom, new account, don't do it. My dad is the simp male second lead. The female protagonist won't end up with him, and besides, he has asthenospermia. I'm his only offspring in this lifetime. Give birth to me, and in the future, I'll inherit his billions in assets, and your son will take you to the pinnacle of life. I paused for a moment, turned around, and threw the pill into the trash bin. I've read a lot of online novels, so my acceptance ability is particularly strong. Without much doubt, I believed the child's words. I hid in the car and excitedly asked, Cub, should I tell your dad that I'm pregnant now? No. My dad doesn't know he's the simp male second lead. Right now, he's ambitiously pursuing the female protagonist. If he knows about my existence, he definitely won't let me be born. I thought for a moment and suggested again, then tell your grandma? Felix is madly in love, but Mrs. Evelyn shouldn't be confused, she would surely cherish this hard-won grandson. No, we can't tell my grandma now either. My grandma hates gold diggers who use any means to climb up the social ladder the most. If she extends her hatred, she might not care about me who hasn't been born yet. Then what should I do? You should leave the capital city as soon as possible, raise me up, and then let them know about my existence. Dad won't marry or have children. By then, my grandma will have no choice and will definitely accept me. But in that case, wouldn't you be an illegitimate child? Mom, you're overthinking it. My dad, that simp, won't marry anyone but the female protagonist, so he'll be a lifelong bachelor, and I'd at most be considered a child born out of wedlock. Once you give birth to me, the Pei family's 18 generations of ancestors will be grateful to you. I understood. Okay, I'll go back later and say goodbye to your dad. According to my son, this is a novel world. The female protagonist is Serena, the heiress of the Song family. The male protagonist is Lin Yenzhou, the crown prince of the capital circle. Felix is the simp male second lead in the wife-chasing crematorium trope. Serena has liked Felix since childhood, following him around. Unfortunately, Felix didn't understand love back then and only saw Serena as a sister, so he rejected her confession. Heartbroken, Serena went abroad and didn't return until 7 years later. Upon reuniting after a long separation, Felix realized he had actually fallen in love with Serena unknowingly long ago. Thus, he began pursuing her madly again. But Serena's heart had been thoroughly hurt by him, and with the male protagonist pursuing her madly. After some entanglement, Serena chose the puppy-like male protagonist. Felix could never let go and silently guarded Serena for a lifetime. Isn't this the standard male second lead crematorium plot? If Felix weren't my son's father, I'd at least give it a few likes. When I returned to the villa, Felix had already gotten off work. He stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, smoking, looking preoccupied. Habitually, I wanted to hug him, but upon second thought, remembering he was the simp male second lead, I suppressed the urge and politely called out, Felix. Felix snapped out of his reverie, walked over, stubbed out the cigarette in the ashtray, and then slowly spoke. There's something I need to discuss with you. My heart sank. What was coming had finally arrived. Mom, don't panic, it's within expectations. I took a deep breath and asked with a smile, what is it? Felix sat down, looked up at me, his tone as calm and indifferent as his gaze. How long have we been together? My heart sank again. This was to drive me away. Although I've always been clear about my identity and status, after being intimate with such an excellent man for 5 years, I couldn't help but feel something. I forced a smile. It's almost 5 years, just 1 month short. Felix nodded thoughtfully, so it's been that many years already. I sighed inwardly. Yes, it was time for a change long ago. To be fair, compared to those playboy young masters in the circle, he was quite devoted. Keeping just me for a full 5 years, others would have changed 10 times over. I should be content. Felix paused for a moment before speaking meaningfully. I've thought about it, we can't always maintain this kind of relationship, so I think. His words were interrupted by an urgent ringtone. Felix picked up his phone, glanced at it, and got up to answer on the balcony. I glanced over the note, Serena. It felt a bit uncomfortable, a bit like crying. But then, thinking that my son would inherit his billions in the future, my mood improved a bit. Felix kept his voice very low, so I couldn't hear what he was saying. However, his expression was a gentleness I had never seen before. About 3 minutes later, he hung up and returned to the living room. I have something urgent now, we'll continue when I get back. I nodded calmly, okay. After explaining, Felix put on his coat and left in a hurry. Even though I had predicted my ending long ago, I still felt uncomfortable. My son's inner voice sounded, "Mom, don't be emo, slip away before my dad finds out you're pregnant." Although my dad isn't a law-abiding criminal who kills and sets fires, if he doesn't want me to be born, he can still force you to have an abortion. I immediately became tense. My son was right, Felix doesn't know he's the unattainable male second lead, and right now, he's surely racking his brains to pursue Serena. If he finds out I'm pregnant and it ruins his plans, I'm done for. I immediately started packing valuable items and drove back to my hometown overnight. Before leaving, I sent Felix a breakup message. "Felix, I've returned to C-City. Thank you very much for your care these years. I wish you all the best in the future." Felix didn't reply to me, probably thinking it unnecessary. I was a bit disappointed. It wasn't that he didn't try to keep me, but that he didn't give me breakup money. Although he usually gave a lot, who would complain about more money? I followed Felix without any compelling reasons, purely because I was afraid of poverty from childhood, plus being attracted by his looks. I agreed to his proposal. In short, greedy and lustful. I have self-awareness. From the day I followed Felix, I prepared for leaving, so I never squandered. 3 years ago, in my hometown's provincial capital, I bought myself a fully furnished large apartment in the city center. 2 years ago, I added furniture and appliances. After hiring a cleaner to do the sanitation, I moved in. To completely bid farewell to my past life, I discarded my original SIM card and got a new one. I knew Felix could easily track my whereabouts if he wanted. But he was busy competing with the male protagonist for the female lead, probably forgetting about someone like me. Although my son said he would be born healthy, to be safe, I still did prenatal checkups on time. On the day I scheduled the major anomaly scan, as I was preparing to hand the documents to the staff, I suddenly saw Felix walking towards the ultrasound center. I was stunned and quickly turned my back. "Mom, what's wrong?" Every time my emotions fluctuate obviously, my son can notice as long as he's awake. I whispered, "I saw your dad." "Mom, don't panic, you're wearing a mask, he won't recognize you that easily, just leave normally." My son was right, not only was I wearing a mask, but also casual clothes I'd never worn in front of Felix. He shouldn't recognize me that easily. I steadied my mind and slowly walked towards the escalator. Just as I was about to reach it, my arm was grabbed tightly by a tremendous force and pulled back. I stumbled 2 steps, leaning against the wall to steady my body, which had become stiff from excessive tension. Felix's tall figure leaned slightly forward, enveloping me in shadow. The sense of oppression was overwhelming. "Running away? Think I won't recognize you with a mask on?" A teasing voice sounded above my head, and I suddenly felt like crying. "Mom, don't panic. Don't lose your composure." I forced a sheepish smile. "Not running, the checkup is done, time to go home." After sizing me up, Felix's gaze finally landed on the ultrasound application in my hand, and he asked ambiguously, "Sick?" I quickly hid the form behind me. "Minor issue, just irregular periods." "Is that so? Let me see." As he said that, he reached for the form in my hand. Just as I didn't know what to do, his assistant came over and said gravely, "Felix, Miss Serena has acute appendicitis. The doctor says she needs surgery immediately." Felix was slightly stunned, gritted his teeth, and said to me, "Add my contact back," then hurriedly left with the assistant. After Felix completely disappeared from view, I fled the hospital as if my life depended on it. On the way home, I asked my son, "Cub, what does your dad mean by asking me to add his contact back?" "I don't know either, Mom." "So, should I add it or not?" "Of course, add it. If you don't, he'll definitely investigate your information, and then your pregnancy won't be hidden." "Okay." Although I deleted Felix's contact, I had long memorized his phone number. After returning home, I added his chat account via the phone number. About an hour later, he accepted my friend request. "Send me the address." I was confused. "Cub, what does he mean by asking for the address? Is he coming to find me?" "It seems possible." "What if he finds out I'm pregnant? Has he already discovered it? Is it still time to run now?" "Mom, don't panic, just running won't help. If he wants to find you, it's only a matter of time." "Then isn't it just waiting to die?" Thinking of this, I felt utter despair. "Cub, don't worry, Mom won't let you leave alone." "Mom, let me tell you, reincarnating now starts with a 100-year queue, and it's not certain you'll be born alive." "Then forget it, let's struggle a bit more." "Don't panic yet, from Dad's appearance, he probably hasn't discovered my existence, maybe he just wants to see you. He's already accompanying the female lead, what about me is worth his look?" "I don't know either." "We'll know when he comes, we'll deal with whatever comes." "Okay." Reluctantly, I sent the address to Felix. "Mom, quickly tidy up any suspicious things at home, don't let Dad find out." "Okay." I quickly picked up items at home that might expose my pregnancy and hid them in the storage room. Just as I sat down to catch my breath, the doorbell rang. I hurriedly got up to open the door and greeted awkwardly, "Felix, long time no see." Felix had no particular expression on his face and nodded faintly. "I'll be in Sea City for a few days, I'm not used to the hotels here, so I'll stay for a few days." I fell into hesitation. Felix indeed disliked staying in hotels, even if they were presidential suites. But I didn't dare let him stay at home. Felix, not getting my answer, looked at me with a heavy gaze. "Inconvenient? Don't refuse." "The more you refuse, the more suspicious he'll be, agree first." I smiled sheepishly, "No." "Very convenient, please come in, Felix." I stepped aside, welcomed Felix in, and suddenly remembered there were no men's slippers at home. "I didn't know Felix was coming, I haven't prepared what you need." "Please sit for a while, Felix, I'll go by now and be back soon." Felix didn't stand on ceremony. "Okay." When I returned home carrying toiletries, I found Felix not in the living room. I thought he had left and was about to cheer when he came out of the storage room. My heart skipped a beat. Just as I was wondering if I should kneel and beg for mercy, Felix seriously commented, "The house is quite clean." I tugged at the corner of my mouth, nothing to do, so I clean every day. Felix said nothing more and extended his hand to me. "Give it to me." "Oh." I quickly handed him the plastic bag with toiletries. Felix took out the slippers, put them on, and carried the bag to the bathroom. Naturally, as if he were at his own home. Seeing he planned to stay overnight, I went to make the guest bed. To be honest, I quite despised him. Clearly chasing the female lead, yet coming to his former canary's home to stay, such lack of propriety, no wonder he couldn't be the male lead. Serves him right. Felix showered quickly, I had just made the bed when he came out wrapped in a bath towel. He leaned against the doorframe, raised an eyebrow at me. "I'm sleeping in the guest room?" My brain reacted slowly, and I nodded without thinking, "Yes." "What else?" Felix's gaze darkened. Although his expression seemed unchanged, I keenly noticed he was angry, and I realized why. I didn't expect him not only to lack propriety but also to think of sleeping with me. I despised him even more inwardly. Good thing the female lead didn't choose him. Just as I was thinking how to fool him, he suddenly asked, "Hiding something from me?" I subconsciously covered my belly, then immediately let go, smiling awkwardly. "No." Felix's face suddenly darkened, his sharp gaze locking onto my eyes, approaching step by step. "Don't you know you're bad at lying?" I nervously retreated until I bumped into the bedside table behind me. He braced his hands against the wall, trapping me firmly between his arms. The intense oppression made me feel breathless. "Found a new benefactor so quickly?" I looked up, staring at him in astonishment. Once a man has possessed a woman, he develops an inexplicable possessiveness towards her. Even if the relationship between the two has ended. Felix was obviously influenced by this emotion now. I was a bit angry. Although I dislike work and prefer leisure, not just any benefactor would do. Ugly ones won't do. Old ones won't do. Sick ones won't do either. To be honest, although in his and others' eyes, I was his kept canary, deep down, I always saw him as a gigolo who paid me. Truth be told, after sleeping with such a top-tier man, ordinary men no longer caught my eye. I rolled my eyes at him. Am I that casual? The cold air around Felix dissipated significantly. He pulled me into his arms, holding me tightly, his breathing gradually becoming heavy. "Baby, I want." Before Felix could say something embarrassing, I decisively covered his mouth. "No." Although my son was asleep now, who knows when he'd wake up. If my son heard his flirty words, I wouldn't need to live anymore. Felix pulled my hand away and looked at me with that icy gaze again. Hiding something from me? I wasn't quick-witted to begin with, and after pregnancy, my brain worked even slower. I couldn't find a suitable excuse to fool him and became flustered. "No." I babbled nonsense. "My period came." Felix curled his lip in a cold smile. "Is that so? Let me check." His hand landed on my waistband. My scalp tingled instantly, and in desperation, I slapped him across the face. I regretted it immediately after. "Sorry." Felix stared at me with a gloomy face, and I became even more scared. Just as I was considering whether to act cute to fool him, he turned and went to the bathroom. 2 minutes later, he came out of the bathroom dressed and slammed the door as he left. After the security door closed heavily, I sat on the sofa nearly exhausted. While relieved, my heart felt even emptier. Felix was probably really angry and didn't come looking for me again, which made me more at ease. However, I wasn't happy for long. 3 days later, I received a message from an unknown number. "I'll give you 5 million, abort the child." Suppressing the horror in my heart, I replied. "What child?" "Your little tricks can fool Felix but not me. Let me tell you, Mrs. Evelyn hates people like you who use any means to climb up the most. I advise you to deal with the child early, or Mrs. Evelyn won't let you go." These words made my blood run cold. At this moment, my son woke up and asked worriedly, "Mom, what's wrong?" At a loss, I read the anonymous message to my son. After hearing it, my son was indignant. "Mom, don't listen to his nonsense. Grandma loves me the most, she wouldn't harm me." My sluggish brain started working. "Cub, didn't you say your grandma wouldn't allow your existence?" I stumped my son. He fell into a long silence, long enough to make me feel chilled all over. I trusted him so much, yet he was lying to me. Anger, disappointment, heartbreak, all surged up at once. Why lie to me? My son burst into tears. "Mom, I was wrong. Grandma won't harm me, but she doesn't like you. As soon as I'm born, she'll take me away from you. You won't see me, get postpartum depression, and slit your wrists to commit suicide. Mom, I just don't want you to die. I want you to accompany me as I grow up, to be with you forever. Mom, don't be angry, don't abandon me." Seeing me angry, my son voluntarily confessed the parts he had hidden from me. In the original plot, after discovering I was pregnant, I also went to the hospital to prepare for an abortion. But ultimately, I couldn't bear it and cancelled the surgery. I tentatively asked Felix's attitude. After getting the result that Felix didn't welcome his arrival, I didn't tell Felix about the pregnancy and secretly scheduled another abortion. Mrs. Evelyn accidentally learned of my pregnancy, took the initiative to find me, and asked me to give birth to him. However, Mrs. Evelyn looked down on me and worried I couldn't raise the child well, so after he was born, she took him away. Because of this, I suffered from severe depression and slit my wrists to commit suicide on the day he turned 1 month old. He didn't know about my existence at first. It wasn't until he was 7 years old, when he accidentally overheard Felix and Mrs. Evelyn arguing, that he learned I was his mother. The reason he lied to me was that he didn't want to be separated from me, didn't want me to commit suicide because of losing him, so he encouraged me to secretly give birth to him and wait until he grew up to let Mrs. Evelyn know of his existence. Mom, I was wrong, I shouldn't have lied to you. Forgive me this once, okay? Listening to his continuous sobbing baby voice, my heart nearly melted. How could I stay angry? I gently stroked my belly. It's Mom's fault for not being able to stay with my baby as he grows up. My son's suppressed emotions instantly collapsed, and he wailed loudly. It's not Mom's fault. Mom is the best mom in the world. Tears streamed down my face. Baby is also the best baby in the world, Mom loves baby the most. My son and I cried for half an hour before gradually calming down. I asked my son again. Cub, what happened to you in the end? Did you inherit your dad's billions? No, when I was 8, I died in a car accident. When I woke up, I was back in Mom's belly and knew the plot. I was utterly shocked. You had a car accident? Yeah, Mom, it's okay, that was last life's matter. I'm very happy to be with Mom in this life. My heart ached as if pricked by needles. Treasure, you can't do that. You have to be healthy, safe and sound, live to 100. Mom, we both have to be healthy, safe and sound, live to 100. Okay. Just a second ago, I had sworn in my heart, the next second, I was slapped in the face. The unknown number sent a message: people should have self-awareness, those without it often die miserably. Mom, should we tell Grandma? Yes. I had a vague intuition that in the previous life, my death and my son's death were not simple, perhaps related to this person constantly threatening me. I must seek Mrs. Evelyn's protection. Even if, like in the previous life, at the cost of mother-son separation. My son cried sadly again. But Mom, I don't want to be separated from you. Cub, staying alive is most important. When you're strong enough in the future, no one can separate you and Mom will wait for that day. Although my son was young, he could distinguish priorities. I'll grow up quickly, become strong quickly, and then have Mom accompany me forever. I nodded with tears, okay. I believe in baby. After comforting my son, I sent a message to Mrs. Evelyn, saying I was pregnant with Felix's child and someone was threatening me to abort it. Mrs. Evelyn's number was one I saw in Felix's phone. I kept it in mind back then, deliberately memorizing it. I didn't expect it to come in handy one day. Mrs. Evelyn didn't reply immediately. I waited anxiously for over 10 minutes before getting Mrs. Evelyn's reply. Don't act rashly, I'll send someone to pick you up. Seeing this message, I let out a long sigh of relief and started packing luggage. About an hour later, the doorbell rang. I went to open the door. Before opening, I habitually checked the smart lock's built-in monitor. Outside was a young woman in property uniform, holding something like a registration form. I was about to open the door when a bad premonition flashed, so I didn't. The woman rang the doorbell twice more. Seeing no one open, she took out her phone to call. I immediately silenced my phone. The next second, the screen lit up. The woman called twice and gave up, but she didn't leave immediately. 2 men came out from behind the corner, whispered with her, and then left reluctantly. A bone-chilling cold instantly surged from my soles, spreading to my limbs. Who exactly wants to harm me? No matter who, I can't stay here anymore. But I didn't dare leave rashly. What if I got kidnapped as soon as I stepped out, without even a chance to call for help? With no other way, I had to call Mrs. Evelyn for help. Mrs. Evelyn told me to stay home, her people would arrive soon. Half an hour later, 4 particularly burly men in black appeared outside. After receiving Mrs. Evelyn's call, I left with them. As the car turned at the community entrance, an unlicensed sedan sped towards us. Fortunately, the driver reacted quickly and avoided collision, otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. The other party didn't dare be too arrogant and didn't cause more trouble afterward. We smoothly boarded the plane and arrived in the capital. Mrs. Evelyn settled me in her villa and arranged a professional team for a comprehensive checkup. She proposed to do amniocentesis for paternity testing later. I had prepared mentally for this, so I accepted it calmly. My son was raised by Mrs. Evelyn single-handedly. He knew her preferences and tirelessly taught me every day how to please her. I did as he said, and Mrs. Evelyn's attitude towards me did improve, but she didn't relent on letting me raise the child myself. I had to prepare for the worst. Felix occasionally returned to the old house for a meal. Mrs. Evelyn also worried he didn't want the son to be born, so she kept it from him. Every time he returned, she would notify me in advance to stay in the room and not come out. Felix is bewitched by Serena. If he knows you're pregnant, who knows how he'll react? We can only wrong you for now. I naturally expressed understanding. I understand Madam's good intentions. Good that you know. 2 months later, Mrs. Evelyn took me for the amniocentesis. After confirming the son was Felix's, her attitude improved a bit more. Sometimes she was even willing to chat with me about child-rearing. However, she also clearly told me she would raise the grandson herself. I didn't dare protest, and besides, I had self-awareness. With my abilities and knowledge, I couldn't raise a qualified heir to a billion-dollar empire. Gossip news widely reported Felix being a simp for Serena, known to everyone in the circle. Mrs. Evelyn was furious about this but helpless. I suddenly understood why Mrs. Evelyn was eager to hold a grandson. Probably thought her son was ruined and planned to cultivate the grandson anew. 5 months passed in a blink. One evening, Felix suddenly stormed in angrily. I didn't have time to leave and hid behind the curtain in panic. Mom, do you know where Ava is? Mrs. Evelyn sipped her coffee and looked at Felix amusedly. How would I know where your woman is? Felix wearily pinched his brow. Mom, she's disappeared. Under normal circumstances, I couldn't fail to find her. Mrs. Evelyn remained calm. Does it have to do with me? Felix sighed tiredly. Mom, Ava is just a useless vase. No need to make things difficult for her. If you know where she is, please return her to me. Mrs. Evelyn glanced at him meaningfully. Return her to you for what? Felix gritted his teeth viciously. Nothing, just to teach her a lesson. I nervously covered my belly. My son noticed my tension and comforted me in his baby voice. Mom, don't worry, Grandma will protect us. Mrs. Evelyn sneered. I don't know where your canary is. Find her yourself slowly. Felix was about to say something when his phone rang. He glanced at it and turned to leave. After confirming Felix had left, I came out from behind the curtain. Mrs. Evelyn said faintly, no need to be nervous, even for my grandson's sake, I won't let him go crazy on you. I nodded vigorously, yes. Mrs. Evelyn cared particularly about her son. At least before he was born, she would ensure my safety. The reason was simple. Felix indeed had asthenospermia. The next day, Serena's half-sister Vivian visited Mrs. Evelyn at the old house. I stayed in the room and didn't know what they specifically talked about. But it should have been quite pleasant, as Vivian stayed the whole morning before leaving. And after that day, Vivian came every few days. Mrs. Evelyn clearly welcomed it. Moreover, I keenly noticed that the servants' looks towards me had subtly changed. I felt uneasy and secretly asked my son. Cub, do you know what's up with Vivian? The cub thought for a while before speaking. Aunt Vivian seems to like Dad and wants to be my stepmom, but Dad doesn't agree. Does your grandma agree? My son was silent for a moment before answering. Grandma wants Dad to marry Aunt Vivian. My heart sank. To be honest, I previously suspected the one scheming behind was Serena. But now, it seems Vivian has a greater chance of wanting to eliminate me and my son. The more I thought, the more horrified I felt. What chilled me more was Mrs. Evelyn's attitude towards Vivian. People's hearts change easily. I was still naive, actually thinking Mrs. Evelyn could protect me and my son. But besides Mrs. Evelyn, who else could I trust? It seemed no one except the little one in my belly. My unease accumulated as the due date approached and Vivian's visits to the old house increased. A week before the due date, Mrs. Evelyn laid her cards on the table with me. "Ava, you're a sensible person, you can't sit in Felix's wife's position, and I can't possibly hand my grandson to you to raise. After the child is born, you leave, I'll give you 50 million as compensation, enough for you to live worry-free for life." I had no choice but to agree. After all, without her protection, Vivian crushing me would be as easy as crushing an ant. "Thank you, Mrs. Evelyn." Mrs. Evelyn nodded satisfiedly. "I like smart people." Mrs. Evelyn had originally arranged an auspicious date for my C-section, but perhaps due to stimulation, I went into labor that night. After 2 hours of labor pains, my son was born smoothly. After the nurse took my son away, the delivering doctor approached me with a syringe. I immediately became alert. "What are you doing?" The doctor didn't speak, just stared at me with sinister eyes. I had no strength and could only scream for help. But I had just screamed once when she covered my mouth and injected the liquid into my body. My consciousness began to blur immediately. In the second before completely losing consciousness, I vaguely saw someone rushing in. But I no longer had time to identify who it was. I thought I'd go to the underworld to Q, but unexpectedly woke up from a nightmare. Opening my eyes, I saw a stark white ceiling. I stared blankly for a while before slowly coming to. I wasn't dead. Where's my son? I struggled to sit up, searching for my son's trace with my eyes, but only saw an empty crib. "Baby!" I became anxious, preparing to pull out the needle in my hand, when Felix walked in from the living room holding an infant. Our eyes met, and we both froze. Felix broke the silence first. "I just took Andy for a checkup, want to hold him?" "Yes." It wasn't until I held my sleeping son in my arms that my heart, suspended in midair, truly settled back down. Felix suddenly said, "Vivian was sent abroad by the Song family." I wasn't too disappointed. With my status, it was far from enough for the Pei family to tear faces with the Song family. This was Vivian's cleverness, she only targeted me, not the son. After Mrs. Evelyn laid her cards on the table, my son and I prepared for the worst, die early and Q early. But I still gambled and secretly contacted Felix, telling him someone wanted to harm me and the son, begging him to protect us. Felix didn't believe me at the time and was very angry. I thought he wouldn't help, but unexpectedly, he came. That he could accept the son's existence and save me, I was already immensely grateful. "Thank you." Felix seemed dissatisfied with my reaction, keeping a straight face without a word. I lowered my head to look at my son's obedient and cute sleeping face, then thought of the upcoming separation of over 20 years, my nose soured, and tears uncontrollably overflowed my eyes. I sniffled and looked up at him. "When will you take the son away?" Felix replied without thinking, "When you're discharged." I should be discharged tomorrow or later. Suddenly, I wanted to thank him again. "Thank you." Felix had puzzlement on his face, but I had no mood to guess his thoughts now. "Can I ask you for one thing?" Felix looked at me like I was an idiot. I ignored that and quickly said, "Felix, in the future, can you pay more attention to Andy's physical and mental health, especially personal safety? It's not that I'm overthinking. Before he was born, someone wanted to harm him, there will definitely be more in the future, so." Felix interrupted my rambling. "Leaving everything to me, as the mom, you don't care about anything?" I smiled bitterly. "I want to care, but I need the opportunity." Felix, not knowing what he thought of, suddenly got angry without warning. "You played disappearance while pregnant with Andy, fine, now Andy is born, can't you settle down?" I looked at him at a loss, endless grievances welling up. "Mrs. Evelyn told me to leave, didn't she tell you?" Felix was stunned. "If my mom tells you to leave, you leave. Are you my mom's woman or mine?" I reacted, incredulously saying, "You're not telling me to get lost?" Felix looked at me like an idiot. When did I tell you to get lost? I was tongue-tied. Although he indeed hadn't said it directly, wasn't it obvious? The day Miss Serena returned, didn't you say we couldn't maintain that relationship forever? Felix gritted his teeth in hatred. Idiot. I meant for you to become official, not to get lost. Can you stop over-imagining all day? This answer was unexpected. Intuition told me Felix wasn't lying. And he had no need to lie to me. Actually, it wasn't all my imagination, there was also my son's contribution. Although my son gave blind commands and messed around, I survived anyway. I explained half-truthfully. I thought you were going to pursue Miss Serena, felt leaving initiative was more dignified, so I returned to Sea City. As for the son, I couldn't bear to abort, originally planned to secretly give birth and raise him. Later, I found someone wanted to harm me, I had no choice but to seek Madame's protection. Felix laughed in extreme anger. Can't I protect you? I felt even guiltier. I thought you didn't want the son. Felix exploded in anger. In my situation, having a child is like burning high incense. Am I crazy not to want a child? I smiled awkwardly. I reconciled accounts with Felix for half a day before barely sorting things out. He said he never liked Serena from beginning to end. The reason he was so close to her was because Serena asked for his help. Serena's situation in the Song family was bad. Her father favored his second wife and their children, ignoring her. Her stepmother and half-siblings always schemed to ruin her. Serena was weak alone and could only seek his help, borrowing his influence to deter the Song family. The day I returned from prenatal checkup, when he said he wanted to talk, it wasn't to tell me to get lost, but fearing misunderstanding, he wanted to make me official privately first, and announce after helping Serena stabilize. But Serena suddenly had an emergency, and he had to go help. He originally planned to talk after I returned, but unexpectedly, I left and blocked him. He was very angry then, plus busy, so he didn't come find me immediately. He learned I returned to Sea City, and coincidentally, Serena was going there for a concert, so he used accompanying Serena as an excuse to go to Sea City. The day we met at the hospital, he came to find me that night, originally wanting to give each other a way out, but unexpectedly, I rejected him strongly. He mistakenly thought I had another benefactor, so he left in anger. Afterward, when he calmed down, he looked for me again, but by then, I had come to the capital. After that, he kept looking for me but couldn't find me. Until I proactively messaged him. Felix's explanation had some discrepancies with the plot my son told me. But I didn't think my son lied. After all, he was just a 7 or 8-year-old child with limited understanding. Moreover, I always felt Felix had signs of breaking free from the plot constraints. Anyway, it's best that he wasn't obsessed with Serena. Speaking of Serena, just a mention. Serena's father was a Phoenix man. After his wings hardened, he killed his original wife to monopolize the company, then openly married his first love. With Felix and the male lead Lin Yenzhou's help, Serena seized back the company and sent her scumbag dad and stepmother to prison. Half a year later, Felix sued Vivian for hiring assassins to kill me. Vivian was extradited back and accepted legal sanctions. Regarding Felix wanting to marry me, Mrs. Evelyn was very dissatisfied. But Felix insisted, plus the son's bonus, she finally reluctantly agreed. On my son's first birthday, he and I held the wedding. People's hearts change easily. I can't guarantee if Felix will change his mind in the future, but his asthenospermia is an unchangeable fact. As long as I think that my son is his only heir, I'm content, hee hee.